The mansion stood tall and proud, a silent monument of wealth in the hills of Los Angeles, with marble floors that echoed with emptiness and chandeliers that glittered like captured stars. To the outside world, the Delacroix family had it all: fame, fortune, and flawless photographs on glossy magazine covers. But every night behind the closed doors of their opulent home, two little children wept themselves to sleep. No one noticed, no one cared, except her, Maria Santos. The live-in maid from the Philippines was hired not for her warmth, but for her efficiency. She was petite, quiet, and always early. She spoke little unless spoken to, but what she lacked in words, she made up for in attentiveness. While Mr. Delacroix stormed out each morning with his Bluetooth earpiece barking orders and Mrs. Delacroix perfected her curated Instagram life, Maria watched. She saw things, she heard things, like the soft whimpers of 7-year-old Lily and her 5-year-old brother Jamie echoing through the vents in the dead of night. Their rooms were filled with plush toys and iPads, but devoid of warmth. Their mother rarely hugged them, their father barely noticed them. Each morning, they came down to breakfast dressed by stylists and sat alone at the 10-seat dining table. A nanny brought their cereal. A driver took them to school. Every night they returned with their eyes a little duller. Maria knew that kind of sadness. She had left her own children back home to earn money for their future. Every coin she saved was sent to Manila, every ache she endured buried under duty. But something in Lily's shy smile or Jamie's anxious fiddling with his sleeves reminded her of the kids she left behind. So one evening, as the golden light faded from the sky and the marble hallways fell silent, she did something different. She sang softly, almost imperceptibly at first. A lullaby her grandmother once sang to her floated through the hallway like a secret breeze, warm and full of memory. That night the crying stopped. For the first time in weeks, the children slept. Through the night, the next evening, she did it again. And then again, she didn't enter their rooms. She didn't break protocol. She simply stood outside their doors, humming lullabies like a ghost of comfort. After a few days, Lily cracked the door open. "Was that you?" Maria nodded. "Can you come inside?" "What?" Maria hesitated. It was against the rules. But then she looked into Lily's eyes, tired, hungry for affection, and her heart made the decision for her. From then on, every night after her cleaning was done, Maria would tiptoe into their rooms and tell them stories from her childhood, stories of mango trees, monsoon rains, of street festivals with fire dancers and noisy jeepneys. Jamie would laugh. Lily would lean in close. They began to call her Mama Ria. And then one day, Mr. Delacroix noticed. He had returned early from a business trip, something about a canceled investor meeting. He marched upstairs to check on his children, a rare gesture, and froze in the hallway. There she was, the maid sitting cross-legged on the carpet, Jamie on her lap, Lily curled beside her like a kitten. They were laughing, not just smiling laughing. A sound he hadn't heard in months. "What is going on here?" he barked. Maria sprang up, startled. The children froze, fear washing over their faces. I'm sorry, sir," Maria stammered. "I was just—" Mr. Delacroix's eyes darted from Maria to the children. Jamie clung to her skirt. Lily hid behind her. "Why are they holding you like that?" he asked, genuinely confused. Maria opened her mouth, but it was Lily who spoke. "She tells us stories. She sings. We sleep when she's with us." There was silence. Then Jamie added, "We're not scared when Mama Ria's here." The name hit like a bullet. Mr. Delacroix's jaw tightened. Something flickered in his expression. Regret? Shame? Memories of his own mother who passed when he was only 6, her lullabies lost in the noise of his ambition. He said nothing, just turned and walked away. That night, Maria packed her things. She knew the rules. She had crossed a line, and she prepared to face the consequences. But in the morning, something unexpected happened. There was a note slipped under her door. "Stay. Please, teach me how to do what you did." Signed simply, David Delacroix. Maria stared at the note as if it were written in another language. Her hands trembled. In her years of working in homes like these, grand, glossy, but hollow, she had never seen something like this. Wealthy employers didn't ask. They ordered. They didn't say please. They replaced you when you became too human. Yet this man, David Delacroix, a billionaire tech investor, had written a note with a trembling hand and a single request. Stay, please. Teach me how to do what? You did. It wasn't about how to sing a lullaby or tell a bedtime story. It was a plea from a man who had everything, yet couldn't give the one thing his children needed most: love. The next morning, David was already waiting at the breakfast table. No phone in sight, no laptop between him and the world. He looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from a life spent running so fast that he'd missed the most important moments. Thank you for staying, he said as Maria walked in, still unsure of what the day would bring. She nodded cautiously. I don't know how to talk to them, he admitted. I know code, not children. I made my first million before I turned 25, but when Jamie cried last month after scraping his knee, I froze. I literally Googled how to comfort a child. Maria gave a soft smile, one that came from understanding, not judgment. Children don't need Google, sir. They just need someone to sit beside them and listen. And so it began. Each evening, after the house quieted down, Maria would sit with David in the kitchen. No formal lessons, just conversations. She told him about her childhood, how her father never made more than $5 a day, that she always felt rich because he came home every night, kissed her forehead, and listened to her stories. She explained that it wasn't about expensive toys or private tutors, but about presence. Presence. David asked. Yes, not gifts, not gadgets, but being there. Really there. Kids know when your eyes are looking at them, but your mind is somewhere else. A week later, something shifted. Jamie had a nightmare. Instead of calling for Maria, he ran to his father's room. David, startled, sat up and braced himself for the usual panic. But then, without thinking, he pulled his son close, placed Jamie's head on his shoulder, and whispered, "It's okay. Daddy's here." Jamie fell asleep in his arms. Maria watched it all from the hallway, tears welling in her eyes. The next morning, Lily handed her father a drawing. It showed stick figures, one tall, two small, and one brown-skinned woman with angel wings. Above them were hearts, and beneath it, the words, "Our family." David framed it and placed it on his office desk. Mrs. Delacroix noticed the changes. Too, she was skeptical at first. After all, her days were spent in Pilates classes, gallery events, and social media deals. Parenting wasn't in her schedule. But when she returned from a weekend in Palm Springs and saw David sitting cross-legged on the floor, braiding Lily's hair, something cracked in her. "Since when do you do that?" she asked, half laughing, half stunned. "I don't know," he replied. "Since someone reminded me it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up." For the first time in years, they had dinner together at the same table. No phones, no screens, just spaghetti and laughter. It was awkward at first, silences that felt like old wounds reopening, but slowly they began to talk. Really talk. Maria never asked for recognition. She didn't want credit. But one evening, David stood up during dinner and said, "I want to make a toast to Maria, who reminded us how to be a family again." She blushed, overwhelmed. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," he said. "You did what no one else bothered to do." And then came the real shock. The next morning, David called a press conference, not for business, not for stocks, but for something deeply personal. He announced the launch of the Santos Foundation, named after Maria, to provide childcare training and emotional support resources for working-class families and domestic helpers around the world. The people who care for our homes often end up caring for our hearts, too, he said. It's time we recognize their quiet power. Maria's eyes filled with tears. She had spent her life in the background, cleaning, cooking, comforting, but now her name stood for something bigger. Months passed. Jamie began soccer practice. Lily started piano lessons. David attended every game, clapping the loudest from the sidelines. He learned how to cook grilled cheese, not because they needed it, but because Jamie loved it extra crispy. Mrs. Delacroix started sharing real moments online, filtered. Ones with messy hair and jam-stained shirts. Her followers dropped at first, then doubled. People were hungry for honesty. As for Maria, she eventually took a break. She went home to Manila for the first time in 3 years, holding round-trip tickets gifted by the Delacroix family and a letter from Lily tucked in her bag. Ma Maria, thank you for making us feel loved. Please come back soon. This house is full of love now, but it's your songs that made it bloom. Maria wept as the plane took off, not because she was sad, but because she finally knew her absence would be felt. She had made a difference not just in a home, but in a legacy.